Welcome. So today I'm going to be talking about my 3 top picks for inner work. I talk a lot about energetics for wellness. In my last video, I explained that inner work is a form of energy work. I will put the link to that video in the description, but I'm going to be sharing my top 3 inner work methods because I talk about inner work as this broad thing you do to improve how you feel within yourself. But there's so many ways you can go about improving how you feel within yourself. And the reason why inner work is so important for everyone to do is because if you don't do it, if you do no introspection, you don't focus on any kind of personal development, then you're taking all of your energetic baggage with you throughout life, and you identify with the energetic baggage to the point where you don't think that you can be anything else other than who you have been based on that energetic baggage. So I'm going to be sharing my 3 top picks for inner work. And I'm going to start with the first one being chakra work. I talk a lot about chakras and how these energy centers is actually the root of the human psyche. And you may be wondering, why is that? I do explain it in my videos, but just to kind of go over it quickly, the chakras, each of these 7 major chakras, you have like 9 major chakras, but I'm not going to get into that. Possibly 12. I haven't really got into the others, few that there are, but when it comes to the 7 major chakras, these chakras each have their own purpose. So they all have their own individual and unique energy signature. And each energetic signature is a piece of your human psyche. So, for instance, when people are saying you're in your ego, it's because your ego is this side of your solar plexus that people usually are referring to. This ego is your willpower, your drive, and how you logically make sense of what you're experiencing. And that's a whole different part of your human psyche than your heart chakra, which is how you feel inside even when it's subconscious. Okay? A lot of the things that you feel in your heart are very subconscious. And sometimes you don't even know why certain things trigger you. And it can trace back to a memory years before you were ever even actually aware of it. But the heart chakra is different from your sacral, because in your sacral you also feel emotions, except here it's more of a eye-oriented position of you. It's how you feel inside. It's the guilt you feel inside. It's the things that people don't see. It's different from your subconscious heart space, because when it comes to the heart is able to stabilize itself, feel grounded within itself, and to share whatever abundant energy is coming from your grounded energy. So you can share that grounded energy, and people take that as comfort, and so they feel centered when they're around you. So this is like the power of the heart chakra. When it comes to the sacral, your sacral doesn't really share anything. Your sacral is all about how you feel inside, your insecurities, the things that motivate you, your agenda to do something. It's all up to that ego to get it done thereafter. And so doing chakra work is very helpful, because you can put into categories what part of your mind you think with the most. A lot of people think with their ego the most. So when it comes to how people structure their lives with this crown chakra, A lot of people exalt their ego into the crown, so they come off very egotistical, and everything that they create for themselves is self-serving and serves their individual needs as a person. And it doesn't include sharing that abundance with others as much as it means just obtaining things to be comfortable or to be happy or to feel or because it's just logical to do things for yourself, right? It is logical to be selfish, but when we talk about the heart space, that's when you start to think more collectively. That's when you see when you're seeing like a beautiful moment and you shed a tear because you're understanding that you're a part of an experience and it's not for you. This moment is beautiful because it's being shared. And that's when you are realizing which space you're in. Like if you spend a lot of time focusing on you and your needs, or you focus a lot of your time helping others and sharing your abundance with others, and depending on how much you've integrated your heart space and how much of your truth that you live by is what this throat chakra is going to be able to do. You know, the space within your throat chakra, it can only support your truth. So whatever truth you're living by, this throat chakra is the bridge for that. But I'll get more into that. I want to get into the other inner work methods. So my second top pick for inner work is shadow work. I think shadow work is extremely awesome for integrating your dark and your light side. You're becoming aware of all these aspects of you that you thought were okay, and you're coming to terms that they're no longer serving you. And you're able to admit to yourself and be brutally honest. It takes, you know, using these chakras, of course, to be able to be brutally honest with yourself as to where you stand in your life. But it also allows you to see what the other spectrum of that dark energy would look like, so you know what direction you want to step into. So shadow work looks different for everyone. For me, my shadow work took about 2 years. I started off in this dissatisfaction with life and having to kind of just deal with it, right? And then eventually you start trying to get things to fulfill you. And this is when you're in your shadow energy, because you're kind of being selfish. You know, you're trying to get things to fulfill you, even if it means having hidden motives or playing mind games. You are just doing what you feel you need to do. You're doing what makes sense to your ego to fulfill those voided energies within you, those energies where you have this unfulfillment because something in your life when you were growing up, usually it stems from there, you weren't fulfilled, and so now you have this space that you're trying to fill. And when you do that, you react very selfishly. And so doing shadow work helps you become aware of that. And it's simply just becoming aware of those things and changing your ways, or kind of switching that energy over from being so dense and heavy-hearted energy to lightening your load. Okay? And the third method, I actually talked about it in a previous video, is when you work on each of your 4 energy bodies. So there's 3, I think. So the 3 energy bodies. So it depends. I'm going to leave a link in the description for that video. But the 3 energy bodies are your emotional body, your mental body, physical body, and I like to include your spirit in that, even though your spirit isn't really anything. It's just kind of like the energy you radiate out. You know, it's just what gives all this life. But your soul also retains a lot of memory too. And so I like to consider it the emotional body, the mental body, physical body, and your soul. The soul that's housing the spirit, you know, the soul, your individuality as a spirit, okay? And by working on those 4 aspects of you, you're able to see which body you spend the most time in and which body you have less strength participating within. So a lot of the times people would have a lot of trouble in their emotional body, meaning that they don't handle emotions, connection. They don't understand what empathy truly is. They don't understand what it means to have compassion for yourself and others. They don't really understand that space because they don't spend a lot of time in that space. And by seeing these 4 aspects of you as separate, it helps you understand what area of you struggle with. So if you struggle emotionally, then that's a lot more apparent than you having to figure out which chakra. These energy bodies are associated with the chakras, and I do go into detail about it in other videos, but when you're able to just see it as energy bodies that you're not participating in, it makes it a whole lot easier. So your emotional bodies and all the aspects of you that are emotional, you will know if you are strong in that area of your life or weak in that area of life based on how much energy you put there. And if you feel like you don't put a lot of good, healthy energy into that space, then that means you may have a weak emotional body. You may also realize that you have a strong mental body as a result, because instead of putting that energy into your emotional body and all of the components that make up that emotional body, you're actually putting it into the mental body. And the mental body is everything that involves logic and what makes sense, what's practical, what's in front of you, what you can see with your eyes, like what you can prove, what's facts, what's not abstract, what's concrete. A lot of people prefer to live in this body or spend more energy into this body because it is what makes sense. You're always doing what makes sense, even if you cut off the emotional connection to whatever decision you're making. You know that you're doing what makes sense. And we do live in a world that's inherently mental, so it makes sense to be in this body. However, it can interfere with your ability to connect and tap into intuition in the way that you need to. So if you struggle with intuition and you spend a lot of time in your ego and structuring your life based on how you feel in your ego, then that means you have an overdeveloped mental body. Means that you have to put more energy into your emotional body. And sometimes people put so much energy into their emotional bodies and are so intuitive, and I used to kind of struggle here, that the stuff that makes sense, the logic, the mental bodies, they're weak. And when you have weak mental bodies, you come off illogical. You know, you cry over spilled milk when it doesn't make sense to. And you're not able to see other possibilities. You're kind of just closed off to how you feel emotionally. You become overcome by the guilt and shame of whatever you may be feeling. And you may feel like you overly connect with people to the point where you overshare. So that's what it looks like to be overdeveloped in your emotional body and have a weak mental body. Now the physical body. So the physical body is obvious, right? Because we all have a physical body, but the physical body is also an energy body, because if it wasn't an energy body, we wouldn't be able to maneuver it. So it's an energy body, it's just more dense. And the way that this physical body works depends on how strong you are when it comes to your root chakra and your throat chakra. Kind of your throat chakra, but I would say your throat chakra becomes active due to the fact that you have a body, due to the fact that you have a physical form. You can have a throat chakra that is active without the physical body. I'll talk more about that later, because these are both etheric aspects. So this is when people have like spirit guides that work with them. They're tuning into the spirit guides' throat chakra, and that's how they're connecting and relating back and forth information with their spirit guide. But when it comes to the physical body, because it's an energy body, you can see the representations of why it's an energy body based on how many functions there are, how many functions between cells, how many functions there are when it comes to neurotransmitters, like sending signals and sending different chemicals, hormones, and all that back and forth. Like all of this takes energy, all of it takes energy, meaning that the physical body is an energy body. And if you have a weak physical body, then this body decays faster than it should. You can have a weak mental body, you can have a weak emotional body and have a strong physical body, which would look very interesting. But you can have a very weak physical body and have very strong emotional and mental bodies. And so let me just turn off my alarm really quickly because it's trying to go off. So when it comes to your physical body, this is why I talk a lot about body work, energetic body work for wellness, because it's still energy work. It's just for your physical body. I like to look at all energetics in a holistic approach. So there's ecology, there's thermodynamics, right, which your body does. There's bioenergetics, which is like the cell's ability to take energy, use energy to function within the body. And then when you're using all those different kinds of energy works for yourself, then you have to be able to divide how that energy is being distributed within your own being. You're using all these things. It's just that how aware are you of using these things? And the more you become aware of how you're using these tools, this energy, the more awareness you build up, the more space you're creating to work with. So if I learn something new about love and it's giving me an epiphany, then that means I just expanded my heart space. My heart space just expanded. If I learn a new way to manipulate someone to get what I want, then I just expanded my ego, my solar plexus, right? Or I expanded my mental body. My mental body has more space to work with. It really does work this way. Energy is amazing, right? Because we see energy as this one thing when actually it's so many things. It's just the basic foundation of everything that exists, because without energy this wouldn't be anything. So it's really important to understand how energy works so then you can use it as a tool. And so those are my 3 favorite methods of inner work. Inner work is energy work. And if you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. I will be seeing you in the next one.